what I realized was another surprise and kind of an asset for the fifth grader was that his math with single digit addition and subtraction was stronger than I had initially thought. I expected him to get frustrated with the reading, then be confused with the order of operation or the format and the structure of if there's a multi-question or multi-step. I expected him to get frustrated and to maybe even quit, because that has historically been something that has happened when he gets frustrated. So I was surprised that he continued to work through, continued to show understanding then when he got to the math problem and through the reading, and showed a lot of resilience and a lot of stamina to like keep trying. What it showed me, one of the things that it showed me, is that this assessment, while thoroughly vetted and approved by the district and whomever, when given in a special education setting, definitely requires some modification, and it requires a little modification for each student. So what worked for one, which was not a lot of modification, definitely was not the case for another. So when I gave my assessment, the approach I took was kind of multi-modality. I was trying to I had counting blocks out, I had a whiteboard available, and I didn't need to have a Spanish version because of these two particular students, but it was available. I didn't have a Spanish speaking student in my class in ESY, so it was more of just as a backup. As far as like the read aloud and audio, I don't know how to actually do that. It was just something that if I was to actually do this, I would figure out how to do that, or just offer to read it aloud to them. So I did offer that instead. I offered that to both of them, and the second grader didn't need any of it, didn't ask for it, continued to just work focused and quiet. We talked afterwards, and my assessment was essentially for him the same. Wasn't harder, wasn't easier. There was nothing really that needed to be added, or no assistance or modification. The fifth grader, I did offer all of those things. I offered to use the whiteboard if that would help with writing out problems, working on things. I offered the blocks, and I offered to actually read it to him. He was very focused on, no, I'm going to do this. And so they were all available. I did read through question 1 again because of just some of the confusion. And that seemed to help. But outside of that, he was really wanted to be independent and not use anything, even though those things were available to him. I'm sure that if he would have understood that it wasn't a 4th grade assessment, he might have asked for some more of those. But in my history with him, he has been very independent and wanting to try, and will definitely ask for help when he needs it, but is not one to give up right away. Will instead just get frustrated, if that makes sense. So I think as I go into section 4, professional growth and next steps, I think the thing in my understanding of assessment bias and equity, what it showed me is that even just changing a few words or taking out a few things is not necessarily enough to meet the needs of each student, and it really sometimes can be a case by case. Can take a lot of work to adjust an assessment to reduce as many biases and equity issues So I think especially it can happen with math, because I think when you throw in word problems, if you have a reading deficit, then you also have now created a twofold problem, because you're also dealing with math problems, which is what you want to see. You want to see that skill, but you're also dealing with the reading now, and now you're assessing basically two things, and that seems kind of clumsy, and seems like that could maybe be something that could be adjusted, and pulling out some of the word like problems in the assessment and reducing the amount, maybe cutting them in half. If there's 10, only 5 of them. So that's how I would kind of do things different in my assessment practice. I think I would also be willing to be flexible to give an assessment, knowing that it might have bias, and have examined that, and then see and pay attention and observe and write and log what bias I'm seeing, and then adjust according, and allow the student or students to retake the assessment now with some of that bias out of the way. Because I think sometimes our best thinking, we can think about all the bias and we can contextualize about it, but until we actually see it, we don't know. For instance, with my 5th grader, I thought he was not going to be able to read and get through any of them because his reading level is very low. But he got through 2 pages, and I didn't read. I didn't have to read for him. I didn't have to offer any assistance on that. He was able to understand the process. So I think sometimes we can do our best behind the scenes work, but a lot of times it doesn't actually make sense until it's put it into context. So I think one of the things as a new educator that I really further want to kind of further explore or continue to build on this learning is that it really is important that the assessment is really honing in and focused on the actual skill, and be very intentional with that it and that there's not a distraction with other things off to the side, that it's really measuring the skill that you've taught and showing. And I think that just continues to reiterate how formatives as you're going through your lesson are important, so that you can adjust that. You can adjust those as you go, so that you make sure you're staying on course and not getting off course. Yeah, that's it. I really enjoyed this once I got through some of the meat of it. I enjoyed putting into practice. That's the thing I feel really confident and good at, is the relationship and the communication part, and the assistance. So I really enjoyed that hands-on part of it, and definitely challenged my thinking as to how assessments are designed and how to design them better with less bias or involved in them. All right, thank you.